Can you introduce yourself shortly, including the organizations or charities that you are affiliated with?
Yes, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me today. My name is Amit Ghosh. I was born with neurofibromatosis. I currently am a keynote speaker around disability, around resilience, around confidence. I also work for the National Health Service here in the UK as a diversity, inclusion, equity business partner. So I consult my organization on best practices around ED&I. And I'm also an author. I've just released my book called Born Different, which is a children's book on how to embrace our personality and who we are.
Interesting. Before moving on to the four secrets of success, I
Mm.
think that this question is very important and it is about spirituality. Now,
Mm.
as someone living with NF1 or neurofibromatosis type 1 and rooted in Hindu spirituality, how has your spiritual journey evolved, especially before and after the removal of your eye and receiving the prosthetic? Or how has your faith helped you navigate these physical and emotional changes?
I think faith, whatever faith it is that someone belongs to, helps you stay grounded. What's really important is belief in anything. It doesn't have to be in a particular god or a power. It just has to be in something that you want to do. I wanted to be a content creator. I wanted to write a book, but you have to believe that you can do that. And it is only then that you take actions, and those actions then create results. It's very, very important that we believe in what we want to achieve. Because if we don't believe it, we don't take those necessary actions. And if we don't take those necessary actions, we never get the results. So for me, my faith, my religion has kept me grounded, has kept me in this mindset that something will happen. I just need to keep believing and keep going, if that makes sense.
Can you share with us a few examples of your spiritual practices?
Yeah, my spiritual practices revolve around meditation. I spend a lot of time sitting and meditating. I sit because I think meditation calms you. We live in this world now where so much is happening, everything is going on, social media, talks, work. Everything is going on in my head. I need that half an hour, 1 hour every single day where I'll sit, meditate, and just be. And I think that's one practice that I regularly do every single day.
Amazing. In one of your podcasts or one of the interviews on YouTube, you
Yeah.
mentioned the four secrets of success that
Yeah.
helped you embrace NF1 as an adult. Could you
Yeah.
share what they are and how they guided your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is what I call the confidence code, and I'm doing a lot of work around this in workshops. I do a lot of work around this with organizations to help individuals be more confident. I always talk about disability or no disability. We all struggle with confidence. We all struggle with insecurities. But using these four steps, anyone can elevate themselves to be more confident, be more resilient. And they're all based on my lived experience. The step one is embracing our personality. I talk about how we all have hobbies, interests, likes that make us who we are. So for me, cricket was a big part of my journey. For someone, it might be art, it might be drawing, it might be cooking. That is what gives us the identity. When we walk into a room, people will notice how we look. If we have a visible disability, people will see that visible disability. But once we start talking about our hobbies, if it's cooking, cleaning, drawing, cricket, football, people will start connecting with that and people will start seeing you from that. So when I started playing cricket, I went from the boy who had the funny face to the boy who plays cricket. So that was a transition, embracing your personality. Step two is accepting yourself. We live in this world where we're constantly seeking validation externally. We want to be liked by others. We want to be loved by others, our work colleagues, our friends, our partners. We don't seek enough validation internally. We don't we don't wake up in the morning and say to ourselves, you know what, we're good enough. We've got this. And I always ask this question when I do talks in colleges or universities. I say, would you go on a date with yourself? It's so important to think of that question because if you're not going to spend half an hour with yourself, if you're not going to spend an hour with yourself, why would anyone else spend that time with you? And it's the same thing going into job interviews, going into any walks of life. You need to be your biggest backer, and you need to learn to accept who you are before others can accept you. Coming to step three, it's about what we've already slightly spoke about today, belief. Beliefs lead to actions, actions lead to results. Very important. When I started my social media journey, I believed that I can do this, and I consistently took action. And now I'm sitting on over 300,000 followers, starting a podcast, released a book. So the proof is there. When you believe, you take action, you get results. And the final one is consistent action. You can manifest everything you want in your mind. You can be like, I want to be the next big podcaster. I want to be the biggest podcaster out there. Now, if I'm not going to get up and create and video a podcast, I'm never going to get there. I can just sit and imagine it all day long. You have to take action, whatever that is.
Yeah, that's the other sort of angle there.
Ah, yeah. I can see that one. Okay, we're ready to go. You all keep commenting on my videos. Start a podcast, start a talk show. Here I am, unscripted. This is going to be a podcast where I've talked to extraordinary people about their lives and things that they do and the challenges they've faced and how they've overcome them. The idea behind this podcast is to help, support, and inspire you using lived experiences. My promise to you is that I'm going to bring you extraordinary guests that are going to inspire you to be the best version of yourself. My name is Amit Ghose, for those of you that don't know, and I was born with this rare genetic condition called neurofibromatosis. Don't worry, it's not a name you're going to remember or even pronounce, but it's more commonly known as NF1. It causes tumors to grow on nerves. It can grow anywhere in the body. For me, it grew on my face, making me look very visibly different. So I couldn't really hide it when I was in school. Not a lot of people wanted to sit next to me. Not a lot of people wanted to be my friend. Some because they were scared. Others were just curious. Some just stared at me. And I remember, in the playground when, kids used to play football or pick teams, everyone would run. They had two captains. Think about this. You have two captains in the playground and they're picking teams, and I'm just waiting around thinking, am I going to get picked? But I knew something had to change. At that age, you don't quite understand what depression and anxiety is. And thinking back now to those days, I know I was going through depression and anxiety because I didn't want to be in front of other kids. I didn't want to go to school. I came up with all the excuses in the world not to go to school. One of the things that I loved, one of the things that made me who I was cricket. And I never had the courage to play with other children because I was scared. I was scared of rejection. I was scared that they wouldn't want to play with me. I was scared that they would bully me. So I used to play in my garden. I used to bowl to the wall. But one summer's day in year 6, things changed. I somehow mustered up this courage to go and ask a group of boys if I can play cricket with them. First, they laughed, they mocked me. But reluctantly, they handed me the ball. And I still remember the guy batting was holding the bat with one hand, thinking, what's this guy going to do? He's just swinging it around, laughing. Little did he know that I've been bowling for the last 2 years in my garden. Anyway, here I come running in, and I bowl. He swings, and he misses. Suddenly, there's a gasp in the playground. Everyone's like, hey, this guy can play. Yeah. They throw the ball back at me, like, get him out then. So I'm coming back, bowling. I've got my seam up. For those of you that know cricket, I'm running in. I'm staring at his feet. I'm going to bowl a Yorker. There weren't wickets. There were bins in the playground, as you know. So the bin was the wicket. It's standing in front of it. I'm running in. Imagine this. I'm coming in and I bowl and I hit those bins. Suddenly there's a cheer and everyone's like, hey, well done, well done. And the PE teacher is watching this as it happens. The PE teacher comes up to me and says, hey, would you like to join our cricket club? We've got a team. We're going to go and play some games with some of the schools. It's going to be fantastic. Join. So I join. We go, we play some games, and I play really well. In fact, I become, or so I've been told, I become one of the highest wicket takers that school has had up until that point. Now, why am I telling you this entire story? I'm telling you this story because it was at that point I went from Amit, the boy who has a funny face, to Amit, the boy who loves cricket. You, my friends, need to embrace who you are. You need to enjoy your identity. You need to enjoy your hobbies, your likes, your interests, and bring them out to the world. Because the moment you do that, people will connect with you differently. For those of you that have never seen me before, you're watching me for the first time, when you started this video, you're like, what happened to that guy's face? But now you're like, hey, this is that guy who's started a new podcast channel called Unscripted. He's going to interview amazing people over the next few weeks, next few months. This is going to be really exciting. I'm going to subscribe to this guy. And I'm going to go away and I'm going to embrace who I am too. The first step of confidence, and as we go through these episodes, I'm going to talk about different steps of confidence that you can take. The first step of confidence is embracing your personality. Friends, I have had an extraordinary journey in the last 2 years. Extraordinary. I was never a content creator. I was never an advocate for the visibly different community. But something happened in the last 2 years, which I'll talk about as the episodes go on and talk to you more about it. But something happened that got me to this point where now I have over 300,000 followers across my channels on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and I've even wrote a book. I never thought I'm going to be an author. This podcast is for anybody who has ever felt that they don't belong, they don't fit in. You know, we struggle as individuals with acceptance. We seek validation externally. I talk a lot about this piece about constantly seeking validation externally. We're looking to be liked by our friends, our family, our spouses, our bosses. But do we really spend enough time liking ourselves? I want this podcast to be about you listening to it on a morning before going into work and saying, actually, you know what? I'm ready for the day. You know what? I've got this. Because we don't do that enough. We don't tell ourselves enough that we are good enough, and we are. I ask this really funny question to people sometimes when I'm doing a talk, and I say in a college or something, I'll say, hey, would you go on a date with yourself? And everyone just looks at each other and goes, and smiles and giggles. But think about it. Would you go on a date with yourself? If you're not going to spend half an hour with yourself, why would anyone else do that? And it's the same thing applies to work, to an interview. If you're not going to back yourself, why would anyone else back you? You are your biggest believer, and I want this podcast to help you actually believe that you can do it, because you can. If I can. My background was in sales. I never did this. I started by telling you I worked in sales, and then something happened. I quit my job, and here I am, 300,000 followers, a book. This book became the bestseller in USA within its first week in new releases, children's category. If I can, you surely can too. And my ask to you is subscribe to the channel. My promise to you is that I will help you change your life using my lived experience, using my guests' lived experience. Some of my guests have been through a lot of pain, but they've changed it into purpose. And I want you to listen, because we all have pain in our life and we can all change it into purpose. We all have a story that we can tell that can inspire others. And these guests have stories that can inspire.
I want to be an author. I want to get that job. I want to be an actor. I want to be a singer. Action. Think of it, visualize it, take action. So the fourth step is action. And those are the 4 steps that come together to create what I call the confidence code.
I'm gonna apply the 4 secrets of success in my academic and personal lives. Thank you so much for answering this question. Now, moving to the third one. You have been fulfilling your dream of becoming a motivational speaker by visiting schools and speaking to children. Why did you choose this age group, although you have also been bullied by adults? And how did you feel after your lectures? Because I've heard from you that there was a kid who approached you and he had maybe he had heart surgery, and he found that there is a chemical bond between him and you. So can you share other stories, or how they start to approach you after promoting awareness and acceptance?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, to answer your question about why,
Mm-hmm.
I school children, I think it's very important for me because if I had somebody coming to my school sharing their journey like I'm sharing now, it would have helped me as that young 5, 6, 7-year-old. Definitely it's needed in society now and throughout the world, not just in England, in United Arabs, in India, in Pakistan, in Australia, in America. I think you need speakers who have a visible disability to come in and talk about it because then it normalizes it. It's like, hey, if this man or this woman has a disability and they're standing there telling us their story and how well they're doing outside, then I can do it too. There was a story where there was a young girl who had one eye who put her hand up and asked me, "Oh, can you drive?" And I said, "Yes, I can." And she's like, "Great, that means I'll be able to drive one day as well." It's that kind of change, is that kind of giving that children that motivation. For me, it's really, really important. And it's not just that age group. I speak, I do lunch and learns where I sit in a lunch hour with an organization and I'll go through the confidence code with them. I'll go to colleges, I'll go to universities. For me, it's really important just to spread the word. I want to say to people that disability or no disability, we all struggle with insecurities and we need to pick up these life lessons to become more confident and more resilient. To schools, it's and I'm walking from the entrance to the assembly hall. Children will just flock and run towards me and go, "Hey, I saw you on TikTok, or I saw you on Instagram, or I saw you on the news last night. Thank you for doing what you're doing." It's really, really motivating. That's what motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing. Seeing that change happen in children, it makes a huge difference to me. And it's parents as well. I mean, just to give you an example, Born Different, the book, it was being read by one of my colleagues at work before it released. The day before it released, I had a copy and she was reading it and she started crying. And I asked her why she was crying, and she said, Amit, there's a page in the book where you've wrote that you come home and you hug your mum because you're crying because children are bullying you. She has her son has dry skin and eczema, and he comes home sometimes and cries. And she goes, Amit, that's so relatable to what's happening to my child. This book is gonna be inspiring not just to children but parents as well. And that's the difference, really.
What do you hope readers, including kids and adolescents, will be inspired to do or change in their lives as a result of your story?
I think the biggest lesson people can take away from that book is about embracing who we are. There's a page in that book that says, let's celebrate who we are, how we are, what we are. And that's the essence of life, really. We need to celebrate small things. We all have big goals in life. We want to buy that big house. We want to have this financial success, but we don't often celebrate the small successes that reach towards that goal. Buying a big house requires you getting a job. So when you get that job, let's celebrate it. That first savings account that we open, let's celebrate it. It's celebrating small moments in life that makes life worth living. So I think adults can take away that. Let's celebrate who we are, how we are, what we are. And let's also respect that children are different. And children can learn that as well, that, everyone's different and we need to celebrate differences as well.